The time for talking is over with, as it is Red Friday, Chiefs Kingdom. It is time to play an AFC Championship game. With that, I'm going to give you 3 predictions on 3 players that I think will stand out and help the Kansas City Chiefs advance to this year's Super Bowl. But before we do get in all of that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video, as I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, let's have some fun. I don't know if you guys are feeling this vibe, but watching the media reports all week and focusing in on the Chiefs practices throughout the week, you could tell there's a different vibe. Yes, it is AFC Championship week, so you know they're going to be dialed in and tuned in. But I think with the opponent at hand and the Cincinnati Bengals, you could tell there's, I don't want to say a look of disgust on their face, but they definitely feel what's happened to them in the past. I'm not just talking about being 0-3 against Joe Burrow, mostly focusing on last year's AFC Championship game where they basically had it in the bag and then they fumbled the ball and it was their Super Bowl for losing. You could tell with their demeanor, their tone, everything like that. In every single press conference I've seen this week, it looked all business and move forward. Do I know what that will present for this Sunday's game? I do not. But I hope what they are showing off the field, it translates to on the field, because these boys look like they are on a mission. But that doesn't take anything away from what the Cincinnati Bengals are about, and that's the reason why the Kansas City Chiefs are this way. This is going to be a heavyweight bout. This might be a rivalry if Kansas City can get a win, and hopefully so to advance us to the Super Bowl. This is something the NFL needs, is a good rivalry, and the Chiefs and Bengals might be forthcoming with that. But before we do discuss any of that, this video, I'm going to focus on 3 guys who will take us and get us to the Super Bowl and have a huge game against the Cincinnati Bengals. But first, I want to talk about the injury report, because the ankle that we have been focusing on all week is Patrick Mahomes, and he is not designated with the injury, and he is full steam a go headed into this football Sunday, which I guess you take it for what it's worth. It is great that we will have QB1 out there. It seems like he is as healthy as he can be. Now, with no injury designation, I don't know what that completely means. I don't think it means he isn't hurt, because with a high ankle sprain, you got to believe he's hurt. It's just how fast and how good is he to overcome that. I believe he is second to none. He can handle it better than anyone else, and that's why the Chiefs have been fairly impressed throughout the week on how he has been able to progress day in and day out. I believe he will be the Patrick Mahomes of himself, and we will discuss about him further on in this video. There was 2 surprising names that popped up on the injury report with Justin Watson and Travis Kelce. That one took us all by surprise. Now, even though he popped up on the injury report with the back injury, he was still a full participant. I do not know what that means going into Sunday, but it lets me feel a little eerie, because you got QB1 who's hurt and you got tight end 1 who's hurt, and they are the ones who make this offense move. So it's kind of weary, but at the end of the day, it's going to take everything to not have Travis Kelce on that field. He is going to play on Sunday. I don't know how it's going to be. I hope he's not hurt into a capacity where it affects his play on the field. Back injuries are so tricky, definitely with big guys. We mentioned it with offensive linemen all the time. I'm not saying Travis Kelce is anywhere near an offensive lineman size, but with a big body like that and how he moves, you don't want a back injury whatsoever. I'm just hoping it was like a little tweak, and it's something that you just need a rest and you feel better coming Saturday morning or Sunday morning, and it doesn't affect him whatsoever. Again, positive news that he was a full participant. Negative news that he ended up on the injury report when none of us expected it. We could just cross our fingers and hope for the best. As for Justin Watson, that's another surprising one as well. I think the Kansas City Chiefs got really, really good depth in the wide receiving room, where Justin Watson, he is a playmaker and he does make plays for this offense, but this is the time where you got to rely on guys like Sky Moore, MVS, Kadarius Toney, Juju, and even McCole Hardman. He is also questionable coming into this game as well. Again, I do not know if he will play. I would be ecstatic if he does. Like I said, it's what we've been waiting for all year, is Kadarius Toney and McCole Hardman on the field together at the same time. We haven't had speed and elusiveness together like that since last year when Hill left. So I would be excited to see what kind of packages that can present, specifically if Hardman is completely healthy. But if Watson can't play, it's going to be calling more on guys like a Sky Moore. We've been crossing our fingers all year, hoping for something positive to come off of him in this offense. Maybe it happens in the AFC Championship game. Maybe he makes a play. Maybe he shocks the world. You know, I really want that to happen. I'm the hugest Sky Moore fan, and I just want to see him pop off some way, somehow. No better place than do it in the AFC Championship game and making it right for your team to go to the Super Bowl. Injury report, it's kind of iffy, but full positive is it looks like everyone can still have the chance to play. We will just have to see until it comes to game time decision. Now, jumping into my 3 standout players that I am going to predict for this game, this is not going to be nothing fancy. This is not going to be nothing bold. This is just going to be 3 guys who I think will help carry this team immensely on the rights to a Super Bowl appearance. And the first one I'm going to start off with is because I just want to get it out of the way, as I know he does too. It is Chris Jones. I really, really believe he is going to get a sack this game against Joe Burrow. Like I mentioned, and as he mentioned, is this Cincinnati Bengal game last year weighed heavy on him throughout the offseason. And it's very, very rare that you get redemption like this. Yeah, you might get the chance to play them in the regular season and make do of what it is and try to get a sack, which is what the Kansas City Chiefs did. But to get a chance to play them in the following year in another AFC Championship game, you have every right. How do you phrase that? You have every right to right or wrong, basically, and get your sack and make yourself a presence. And other huge news on the injury report, now the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be missing 3 of their starting 5 offensive linemen, which if somehow, some way, this Kansas City Chiefs D-line can't eat, it's going to be very, very frustrating. I know a lot of people are going to point back to last week against the Buffalo Bills and show how dominant that Cincinnati Bengals backup O-line looked against them. This is 2 completely different scenarios. The Buffalo Bills had a mid-tier pass rush, and they struggled to get a great defensive scheme plan out there. Now, it does have to see what Kansas City presents as a scheme-wise, but Kansas City ranks 2nd in the league in sacks. So there should be no excuse whatsoever that they should not be able to make Joe Burrow feel uncomfortable. And I best believe Spags will have something dialed up, and it will all start with Mr. Stone Cold 9-5 himself. He will get his first sack this game. I really believe it. And I believe he's going to be in the backfield heavy and often and making Joe Burrow's life hell, because the Kansas City Chiefs need him to do that. And if he's not getting sacks, best believe he's going to draw double teams. That means the likes of a Carlos Dunlap, former team, he will go crazy. Frank Clark, George Karlaftis. One of these boys are going to eat. I just believe it's going to be Chris Jones, because it's about time a dominant player makes dominant plays and gives his team the right to go to the Super Bowl. Next up, and we all spoke about it all throughout the week, but it is that grown man himself in Isaiah Pacheco. It is his time to shine. Now, here's where we can get very, very iffy with it. But I believe the Kansas City Chiefs learned a lot from last year in the AFC Championship game when they didn't commit to the run in the second half at all. It is time to commit to the run, and no better other running back to do it with than Isaiah Pacheco. I believe he will get his first 100-yard game this season in the biggest game so far for him in his career. And I'm not even going to stop there. I believe he's going to get 120 yards and a touchdown. If you want to say that was the bold prediction, you can write it up. You can sign it with the signature. Something just tells me this will be the game where the Kansas City Chiefs commit to him. And I'm not just saying that because of a Patrick Mahomes injury. I believe this all along, even before the injury, because that was really, really crucial last year on the reason they lost to the Bengals, was because they abandoned the game plan completely. They didn't control time of possession, and they just let that game slip away from them. They know they need to control the clock, and what better way to do it than to run Isaiah Pacheco? Now, does it help that Mahomes is hurt and you can focus on the run? Yes, it does. But again, Mahomes, I believe, is going to be Mahomes. It's time for Isaiah Pacheco to step up, and I believe if you give him the chance to do so, he will run crazy. We saw what he did against the Jacksonville Jaguars last week. 12 carries, 95 yards. If he would have had 20 carries, he would have been on pace to eclipse 150 yards. You give that grown man the carries, he's going to run wild. I believe he will be a key component, a 7th round rookie to take the Kansas City Chiefs to the Super Bowl this year. Now, if you were expecting something crazy with this last prediction, expecting me to go maybe Sky Moore getting his first touchdown, Trent McDuffie getting his first INT, George Karlaftis getting 3 sacks, You can go bold, you can go crazy, you can do all that. But at the end of the day, the only way the Kansas City Chiefs are going to advance is if we stick to what we know and what we do best. And it is with him. It is Patrick Mahomes. And yeah, it may not be nothing too crazy with the prediction whatsoever, but I believe he will outperform Joe Burrow. I don't care if it's with 2 legs, with 1 leg. He does not want to get beat by this guy in here. He has lost 4 in a row to him, and he has been taking 2 Super Bowl appearances away from him. When it's playoff time for Patrick Mahomes, hurt or not, he performs his best football. When he is on that field, he plays the best to his capability, and he gives this team the best shot to win. I believe he is going to have... A lot of people mentioned it last week, that it was like a Michael Jordan flu game. This is where you're going to start feeling it and where you're going to start really respecting the injury he is overcoming here. I believe, I'm not going to say he's going to be as mobile as ever, but he is going to run out of the pocket here and there, and he might run for some yards here and there. He is going to extend plays. He's going to look like Patrick Mahomes, and it is going to confuse the world on what he is doing and basically putting more respect to his name. And I believe he is going to find a way to win this game. And something really wants to tell me, but I don't want to go too crazy, because the Cincinnati Bengals have been talking mess this whole week. Their whole fan base, even the mayor. Like I mentioned, you could see it is on the Kansas City Chiefs players' faces. They are dialed in and toned in, and no other than Patrick Mahomes. A lot of people are saying this is going to be a close game. But if the Kansas City Chiefs execute and play mistake-free football, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a double-digit win for the Kansas City Chiefs. I know that's crazy to say because they have lost 3 in a row to this team, but if they execute and the Cincinnati Bengals have been poking the bear, you can get bit. And I believe if the Kansas City Chiefs play their best football, the Cincinnati Bengals will not know what hit them in the face. And I believe Mahomes is going to play lights-out football, mistake-free football, and take this team to another Super Bowl. It's going to be fun. It's going to be an exhilarating game. And I believe the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be the Cincinnati Bengals. But if the Kansas City Chiefs, like I mentioned, execute, it's going to be hard to take them down. But with that, Chiefs Kingdom, I am going to sign out. Let me know a few players you think are going to step up in this game and help this team get to the Super Bowl. But with that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and give me that big thumbs up if you like this video. I will check back in with y'all this weekend. Peace.